Okay, hello everybody. Today we're gonna have this notes is actually gonna include our warm up for today, which is over the explicit rule, which we learned yesterday, and our notes over writing the explicit rule. So this is gonna be a little bit longer because I wanted to go over the warm up with you too. So the first one says, given the explicit rule, write the first 5 terms. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna draw my first 5 lines. If you guys remember, the first term is the first number listed is our first term. Whatever after it is our common difference. So we're going to be adding 6 each time. So we're going to get 2, 8, 14, then 14 plus 6 is 20. Those are going to be our first 5 terms, and you can easily use a calculator to help you figure that out. Okay, the next one says determine if the following sequence is geometric or arithmetic, then write the recursive rule. So if you guys remember, this is where we're going to have to kind of differentiate between our rules. The recursive rule is where we have to identify our A1 and our G1 first. And then explicit is whenever everything's in one equation. So let's first determine if it's geometric or arithmetic. We're going down, but we're not subtracting. So we're multiplying. So we know it has to be geometric. We're multiplying by a fraction. So 1 over what? So if you do 162 divided by 54, oh, this should be a 6, you guys. You're going to get, I believe, 3. So this would be multiplied by 1/3. So for writing the recursive rule, we have to first identify our first term. So G sub 1 equals 162. Then I do my comma. G sub n equals my common ratio, which is 1/3. G sub n minus 1. So that is our recursive rule where we have to state the G sub 1 first. It's not just in our equation. Okay, the next one says given the recursive rule, write the first 4 terms. So our first term is 20, and then we're multiplying by 1/2. So our lines, 20, we're multiplying by 1/2. So we're going to half of 20 is 10, half of 10 is 5, and half of 5 is 2.5. So that would be my first 4 terms for this sequence. Okay, next page, it says, given the explicit rule, find the value for n for the value of 52. So this is where I take my 52, and I have to plug it in for a sub n. So I'm going to have 52 equals 4 plus 8 times n minus 1. So I'm going to distribute. 52 stays there. I get 8n minus 8. You then can combine your like terms. So I'm going to get 52 equals 8n minus 4, because that's what 4 minus 8 is. Add your 4. You get 56 equals 8n. And then divide by 8, and my n value is going to be 7. So 52 is the 7th term in the sequence. So make sure you guys know how to do this, because this will be probably one of the harder questions. Next, it says determine if the functions are linear, quadratic, or exponential. So to kind of review, linear is whenever we just have an x. Quadratic is whenever we have x squared. So technically we have 2 x's listed. And then exponential is whenever our exponent is an x. So our first one, we have 1x, so this is linear. Next one, we have x and x, that would give us x squared. So this is quadratic. The next one, we have 5 to the x, so this is exponential. And then the last one, we have x and x. We have 2 x's. That would give us x squared, which is quadratic. So keep that in mind whenever you're going through these. Okay, now we're going to get started with our notes. Okay, so today we're going to be writing the explicit rule. Yesterday we talked about writing the sequence from the rule. Today we're going to actually write the rule. So again, explicit rules define a sequence as a formula in terms of n. And if we go through, our arithmetic rule, we have a sub n equals a sub n1. So this is our first term. And then our plus our d, and this is going to be our common difference. And then for geometric, our g sub 1 is right after the equal sign, and this again is our first term. Then our r value is our common ratio. So those are important parts for our arithmetic and our geometric sequences. So let's go down and start writing these sequences. So for each of these sequences, we're going to have to determine if it's arithmetic or geometric, our first term, a ratio or difference, and then it kind of has the equation already set up for us. We just have to fill in the blanks. The first one from 5 to 8 and 8 to 11, you're adding 3 each time. If you're adding, it's arithmetic. Our first term is 5. Our common difference is plus 3. So if you guys remember, the first term is gonna go in our first blank. So this is going to be 5, and then this is going to be our plus 3. Next one, we go from 1 to 5 to 125. So this one we're multiplying by 5. So this is geometric. So our first term is 1. We're multiplying by 5. So plug these in. This goes our first term, and then we should have a multiplication sign right there. And then our 5 is going to go next. Okay, moving on to the next one. I go from 10 to 6 to 2 to negative 2. Subtracting 4 each time. So this is arithmetic. My first term is 10. My common difference is negative 4. So for a from n, I'm going to do my first term first, which is 10. And then I'm subtracting 4, so I need to make sure I put a negative 4. Okay, last one. You're going from 81 to 27 to 9 to 3. So you're multiplying. This one you're multiplying by 1/3. So this has to be geometric. Our first term is 81. Common ratio is 1/3. So we're going to put our first term first. And again, there should be a multiplication sign in between these two numbers. And then our 1/3 goes second. And that is how you write your explicit rules. So let me know if you guys have any questions over that. We're going to move on where we actually have to write the whole rule on our own. Oh, it looks like we have some mistakes first. It says Archie made a mistake when he tried to write the explicit rule for the sequence below. Explain and correct his mistake. So his first term is 2, and it looks like he's multiplying by 3. So it looks like he listed his common ratio first. So it should be g of n equals 2 times 3 and minus 1. So he flipped first term and common ratio. Okay, next one, it says Rita made a mistake when she tried to write the explicit rule for the sequence below. Explain and correct the mistake. So we go from 16 to 12 to 18 to 24. So we can clearly see that we're adding up by 6 each time. Well, first thing you should know is that this is a G. This is an arithmetic. So she did the geometric versus the arithmetic rule. So we're going to write the arithmetic rule, which is a sub n equals our first term, which is 6, plus our common ratio, which is plus 6, and then our parentheses n minus 1. So she just wrote the wrong rule. Okay, now next, examples 4, 5, 6, and 7, we're going to have to determine whether they're arithmetic or geometric, and then we're going to have to write the explicit rule. So the first one, we go from 6 to -3 to 0 to 3, so we're adding by 3 each time. So since we're adding, that's a bad adding sign. Since we're adding 3, it's arithmetic. So we have our first term, which is -6, and our common difference is plus 3. So we're going to have a sub n equals our first term, which is -6, plus our common difference, and then our parentheses n minus 1. So again, we only put in this -6 and this positive 3. The next one says determine if the following sequence is arithmetic or geometric, and then write the explicit rule. We go from 5 to 15 to 45 to 135. We're multiplying by 3. So this has to be geometric. So we have our first term is 5 and our common ratio is 3. So we're going to have g sub n equals our first term, which is 5, times our common ratio, which is 3, and then n minus 1 as the exponent. Okay, so that is our geometric sequence, or our explicit rule for that geometric sequence. Okay, going down, it says determine if the following is arithmetic or geometric, and then write the explicit rule. So if we go from 8 to 3 to -2 to -7, we're clearly going down. We're subtracting 5, so this is arithmetic. So let's go find our arithmetic explicit rule. Our first term's 8. Our common difference is -5. So I'm going to have a sub n equals my first term, which is 8, minus my common difference, which is 5, and then my parentheses n minus 1. Then I'm done. Okay, last one. Determine if the following is arithmetic or geometric, and then write the explicit rule. I go from 48 to 24 to 12 to 6. Multiplying by 1/2. Geometric. So I'm going to have g sub n equals my first term, which is 48, times my common ratio, which is 1/2, and then my exponent is going to be n minus 1. Okay, let me know if you guys have any questions over this. That is it for today.